Okay, you're on. Hmm? What? I'm sorry? 22nd. Yeah, 22nd. Yeah, today's the 22nd. Okay. Hello, everyone. We're getting started now. Today's class is an open discussion. So feel free to ask any questions you have in the chat. Okay, I have a question here, and I apologize if I mispronounce some of the stuff. Could you explain what is Sadashiva and how the Saivitis consider this the highest form of God Shiva? Your microphone's muted. Can you explain what is Sadashiva and how the Saivitis consider this the highest form of God or Shiva? Sadaa. Your microphone's muted. Yes.
It's not muted.
If the light's red, it's muted.
No, it's green.
Now I hear you.
It's green. It's not muted. Sada is like nada. It's pure. It's a pure holy sound. It's a sound that comes after the vak. So what do they want to know? Shiva means means God, the absolute. It is the supreme God. And Sada is the sound that comes from the supreme God. The initial part of that sound is vak, which is the initial act, and then it turns to sada or nada. And sada or nada is the perpetuated sound that goes out through the universe, and it's a creative wave that everything folds under, or it becomes the background signature of all life, of all creation. Even our bodies, that sound goes out, and 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 the galactic lords repeats the sound and become a part of the sound of that sound. And then the suns, the solar logos, the suns, they repeat the sound. And then the energy that comes from the sun uh, uh, repeats the sound, which is the solar lords on the sun. And then our spirit, the divine spark of God, which creates the soul begins to repeat the sound, and the soul collects the energy from the sun, and the soul links in to the array, or what they call the electronic magnetic spectrum, which is nothing but the frequencies of the chakras that permeate through the universe. And when the soul builds the auric body, that which is the supreme body for the soul, it links into this electronic magnetic spectrum. And that's why inside of every chakra you will find signatures of the great sound, or the great word. The BJs, or petals, is nothing but sound vibrations, and they calibrate to the energy coming from the sun, the galaxy, the universe, the absolute. So that's why some people claim to be. They talk about Sada Shiva, or Shiva Sada, uh, being the great word, or the great power of the universe.
Would you consider this sound orgone energy or dark energy?
No, it is all and neither. That's how you got to look at the sound. It really cannot be defined. But what we do, we define the sound. It's just like we define Shiva. We define it in in our own simple understanding. Because that's why people describe Shiva as the creator and the destroyer. And then some people say it is the great positive energy, the negative energy, and the neutral energy, all at once, because it really cannot be described.
So Sadha Shiva is like Mahadeva.
No, 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 no. The Mahadeva Deva is something totally different. You probably got it from Serpent Power.
Yeah, I said I enjoy the serpent power in all of Arthur Avalon's books.
Serpent Power goes into that. Not too many other books go into that. Except some of Sivananda books go into it, and the complete set of Vivekananda book goes into a little bit, and then also the who else? Paramahansa Yogananda. He has a book on Bhagavad Gita that mentioned it a little bit. So, any other sound? I mean, any other question?
Uh, so how he has unlimited faces, unlimited hands. Sada Shiva is like Nada Brahma.
Yeah, don't pay attention. I mean, I don't. I mean, it's so many interpretations to those statues, and then some of those statues you have to see which one is authentic and which one is just pure art. Um, I go back to the text and look at the Vedas and the Upanishads, the legitimate Upanishads, and try to take meaning from there. and try to take the ancient, if they have any ancient depiction of them. But those, but remember, Shiva is omnipresent, so it cannot be present in one place because it's present everywhere. You know, Shiva is the absolute. You know, and then yeah, Shiva is the absolute, so it cannot be present in one place because it's present everywhere.
What does schizophrenia have to do with Kundalini?
Schizophrenia is just a mental disorder. It could be a mental disorder from the from being from the psychic energy being imbalanced in the body, and the psychic energy in the body is the energy within the nadis that's been left there by Kundalini, or pushed in the nadis by Kundalini, because Kundalini, when the soul formed Kundalini, 90% of Kundalini goes dormant and goes into what they call a Shiva state of existence, meaning that it goes dormant and reveals the Shiva, and that Shiva means that when it goes dormant, it has access to endless potential, and then the part that doesn't go dormant flows through the nadis, and those nadis, when those nadis come together, uh, 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 they form consciousness. That's how the soul forms consciousness. And when the soul forms the consciousness, then the consciousness is formed within the 108 chakras within the body. The main line of consciousness fall within the first six chakras in the body, right? And then and it's the positive and negative flow lines of force, which is the nadis. When they cross, consciousness is allowed. You have levels of consciousness that's allowed. So over time, we build up these things called samskaras from our own thought and actions, and those samskaras create blockages within the flow of that energy of those nadis, right? And they form blockages around the chakras, and that's where our mental disorders come from.
Mm-hmm.
So Kundalini is perfect in its formation. Is what we do. It's a domino effect that we do with with the consciousness, from communicating in and out with the outside world, that clogs, mess up, and prolong our life, and prolong our life in the wrong way.
What determines the routes that the nadis travel in? Like,
It's That's just a natural comic thing. I mean, that's the patterns in which it works. It's like you saying, uh, uh, why positive and negative energy uh, produce electricity.
mm-hmm.
You need a ground wire in the ground to stabilize the electronic flow, the electrons, and then that ground wire needs to be connected to the receptacle, so that the energy can form a line, can form a straight line, and be projected out.
Mm-hmm.
If that ground wire is not, you can't pull energy from that. So that's, I mean, it's just that's just the nature of things, you know.
Okay, so you say the soul is like a when it comes to the nadis and kundalini, the soul operates like a spider. It has a predetermined way in which it's gonna create a web, or this web of nadis. And you
Right.
say the as kundalini flows through the nadis, ultimately it's the blockages that occur at the knots that creates the centers, is that creates the imbalance.
It doesn't create the centers. It doesn't create the centers. The centers are already there, because remember what the soul did. The soul tapped into. Remember, the soul tapped into what
What's already existing.
was already existing. So the soul. So what's happening is that you have that base, right? The base chakra. Then you have the sex chakra, right? You have the solar plexus chakra, right? And
Art.
it's S, right? X, yeah, right? And then you have the heart chakra, right? So, and then you have the throat, right? And then you have the Christ. And we're going to leave the crown out of this because,
On manifestation.
yeah. So, 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 what happened when the soul brings the Shakti power all the way down through this existing channel, and this channel right here is Sushumna, right?
Correct.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But
What
wouldn't
you had something to say?
wouldn't Shishumna come after, because the
No,
the
no, no, no,
Brahmanadis?
no, 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 no,
Before.
no, no. The Sushumna, there's a Sushumna in the solar system. There's a there's a silver lining. Yeah, there's a silver lining in the solar system. There's a silver lining in the which is Sushumna in the galaxy, in the universe, right? Where this sacred energy is always there. In fact, we look at Sushumna wrong, because Sushumna is everywhere. It's like a silver lining that goes through everything, and then everything comes from Sushumna and goes back into Sushumna in order to tap into the all knowledge space,
Okay.
or the power.
It's the ultimate line of force.
It's the ultimate line of force. So then, therefore, if this was creation right here, right, Sushumna is here, here, it's everywhere. You know, So, but we narrow it down so that we can understand it, But it's everywhere. So what happened? The soul brings this Shakti power all the way down, and it comes from the crown chakra. The soul introduced this from the crown chakra to the Christ chakra, and brings it all the way down to here. And then when it gets here, it it
Coils.
it it, it cores into the 3.5 knot, right? It cores into this 3.5 knot. Now, when it cores into the 3.5 knot, it blocks the passageway where it came from. Okay,
Mhm.
but and over 90% of it, over 90% goes dormant. Okay, now the ancient teachings told us that this is called a the Shakti reveals a Shiva, because why? It becomes dormant, and when it becomes dormant, it taps into the endless potential of the absolute, right?
So,
So
so the revelation of itself to itself, is that part, the natural part of becoming, in order to get back to the Godhead that creates the longing for the reunification between the two?
Yeah, yeah, because what happened when it does that, when it creates the potential of what it could be locked up, right? It releases a sound, and this sound loops in and out of all the major chakras, right? Why does it do that? because the major within the major chakras is this thing called the bindu, right? And to stabilize the energies flowing from the bindu is the point of consciousness, is the endless potential, the same endless potential that's here. It's the all knowledge space. It's the place where all power comes from. Around the bindu is the what?
The petals.
The petals, and it's also the
Bijas.
the tava, matter, or rays, right? The petals are the BJs, right? So what these are stabilizing type seed mantras to help calibrate the energy. With each one of these petals and each one of these tavic rays, right, is what? A diva. In fact, these petals and tavic rays is like the body of the diva, because the diva works through them in order to stabilize the energy by karmic law. You know, that's why everything stays stable. And that's why it's we have to follow a procedure in order to tap into this energy. So and all of these are done through sound vibrations, which is
The calibration.
the calibrations. All of these are nothing but great sacred sound vibrations. Some people call them the holy sacred words of God or names of God, right? And the soul, when the soul brought this down, the soul spoke those sound vibrations into existence on the pathway of bringing about this thing called Shakti consciousness, which we call Kundalini, which is the vehicle of consciousness.
But the soul is, in this case, the soul is the ultimate diva.
Yeah, the soul. Well, the soul is the body of the spirit, which is the devata.
The soul is the devata.
The soul is the devata. See, so it makes sense because we use this same thing to make an engine run. I don't know if you all know this. If you go back and look at any machine, it's using the same type of mechanics to make the machine work. The only difference is that we don't have perpetual energy. See, we have to keep introducing the energy. But this is perpetual energy because the soul uses these chakras to pull on this energy from the universe, so it'll never give out of energy. You know, so that, you know, that's the only difference.
And that singing, that repetition of the AUM, the sound vibration, is its longing to be reunited with itself.
Yeah, but it's also a carrying agent to allow the energy to flow. If you look up the ancient meaning of akasa, akasa is etheric sound. And then you go and say, what is akasa? They say it's the carrying agent for what? The Mahabhutas. So that perpetual sound is the thing that pulls in the energy and help calibrate the energy. And then you have 50 letters or 50 sound vibrations or seed mantras within the chakras that also help calibrate the energies. Then you have 360 rays that also help calibrate the energy. So that's what happens.
But the only sound released by the Kundalini at the base is the AUM. True or false?
It's the sound being released by the AUM, yes, but the the TAVIC rays, which is the electronic magnetic spectrum on a very subtle level, is sound itself.
But it is the AUM.
Yeah, it's the AUM and the match of the AUM. In other words, it's like you have a female part of the AUM and a male part of the AUM. So it's both,
Okay.
but we're not given the female part of it.
Which is a type of rays.
Yeah, which is a combination of both, and it's broken up into 360 different rays that hits the chakras in different quantities, different sizes, and it helps to calibrate consciousness, helps to calibrate energy that we use for lifetimes.
So any mental illness or disease, schizophrenic, and likewise, is just a imbalance in that mechanism.
It's not an imbalance in the energy.
Not that.
It's not a, is the chitta, the universal mind substance that was brought in, that was discolored and turned into manas and caused blockages and thought forms and what I want to say is gross, deformed thought forms within the body, within the auric body, and you have to flush those out over maybe a couple of lifetimes in order to move on. And that's everything. That's all our habits, all our bad habits, good habits, and different habits or whatever. They have to be balanced in order to get rid of those things.
So if you went back to the original question, with schizophrenia and kundalini, you can say it's discolored chitta.
Yeah, well, yeah, discolored chitta or manas.
Distorted manas.
Just
All
manas
manas
because
distortion,
chitta is a universal. It turns into manas when it enters the aura. When it enters the aura.
So if the crossing of a nadi creates consciousness, or a consciousness, then the dissolution of consciousness is not so much the uncrossing of it, but the removal of the energy from that intersection.
Yeah. Because remember, the energy in the nadis is kundalini. We can't blink an eye, think a thought, move a toe, move a finger, or walk or run without kundalini energy. So the thing that allow us to move and have motion and communicate with the outside world is kundalini. That's why you hear me call kundalini the vehicle of consciousness. See, that's how the tantric yoga describes it. If you go back to Serpent Power, you go back to anyone that actually studied this stuff, they say kundalini is the vehicle of consciousness. And that's why that small portion of kundalini that's left in the nadis, that's pushed out from the kundalini with the sound vibration from kundalini, it forms a matrix of consciousness, and that allows you to interact on multiple levels of consciousness: unconsciousness, subconsciousness, conscious mind, super consciousness, super consciousness. It allows you to do that. So now, when you decide to develop yourself spiritually, you collect all this consciousness, this energy, and you direct it in one motion, and you take it back down to the kundalini, and you unlock the door to Sushumna, and then you push the kundalini up through Sushumna, and then you experience the elevated levels of meditation, and then samadhi, and then cosmic consciousness, and then eventually you can ascend.
Yeah, but the consciousness is already there. It's a plane of existence. True or false?
What, the consciousness?
Yes.
The realms are already there.
Correct.
The realms of consciousness are already there. But you have to tap into those realms of consciousness.
Right, and that representation of those realms comes through the centers.
Yeah, because remember, the soul does not possess consciousness.
Correct.
Okay, so the soul have to form a vehicle of consciousness in order to tap in the realms of involution and evolution, and then have an experience there, and then take that portion of consciousness to a certain degree, so that it can break off and go back to the Godhead, or this state of dissolved consciousness.
Right, but
Okay.
the knots are essentially just the doors that to enter those realms of existence.
Yeah, it's a vortex center.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a vortex, because remember, the soul created the vortexes to tap into
That realm.
the realm, those realms of consciousness. It's not a realm; it's realms of consciousness. And so it tapped into that, to tap into those realms of consciousness
Yeah, and the soul does that through the nadis and by creating these
through the nadi knots, which is the vortex centers of which is vortex centers, which essentially is chakras.
correct.
Okay.
So that would be why, like, on this gross physical plane, in order for the soul to gain experience on it, Kundalini built this body, this vehicle, in order to express itself.
Yes.
But to a much more highly evolved being like the Saturnian, it's doesn't have I'm assuming it wouldn't have the need those knotty crossings or knots, because its body is.
I mean, we don't know, but we know that it's something similar to what we have, but it's not it's not
It's not a fourth aspect body. It's a body.
Yeah, it's not
much,
comically it's not comically bounded the way we are in
Right.
a sense. We understand that on the etheric realms, that they live in an ovoid type shape, consciousness, body, and it's probably 20, 30 feet tall, and in this ovoid shape of auric substance, but they can create 1,800 to 3,600 bodies,
Right.
of all type of species, and place adequate amount of consciousness in there to still stay a sentient being. So that's a whole different thing that we can't.
Your knotted configuration is dependent upon your level of conscious evolution. So
because
or
once
evolution, spiritual evolution.
because once we move to the heart center, to the throat center, and then move on to the Christ center, you don't need this type of body,
Right.
right? And the cosmic beings, the devatas, which the person talked about, a devata would be someone that's living at the crown level, or the Christ level, crown level, or beyond. See? Because every action, a good way to understand a devata is that they do not make a move unless that move is karmically right to be made and karmically balanced to be made. So all their movement is based on making sure that they're not interfering with no other life species, a life form, in a negative way. Okay? They have calculated to make sure that when they move, that everyone benefits from it. So that's the difference. They work strictly within the law of karma in order to promote life and promote forward movement. That's the difference between a master and a devata. A devata is like an ascended master. It's an avatar. So all their movements, all their actions is to promote forward movement towards the Godhead.
There's I was reading in the autobiography of Dr. King, and it's saying that the Saturnians gave very few teaching transmissions. But when they were giving one transmission, the one energy through Dr. King, they were simultaneously sending out teachings to tens of thousands of other vessels and planets, at the same time. So.
Yeah, because that's the thing about them. They if they make a movement, they make a movement to promote all forward movement. I mean, life. The forward is life. So they barely move. So, you know,
When they do, it
their
has galactic
calculations
consequences.
is billions and billions and billions of light screens when they make a movement. You know, I mean, so that's the difference between them and even in the Nine Freedoms, they said the difference between a Venusian life form, which is like Jesus, right, and many other Swami Sivananda, many other masters that came from Venus. The difference between them and a Saturnarian is 9,000 times different. You know, they're 9,000 times more advanced than those cosmic masters. And we look at Jesus and Buddha as gods to us. You know, so what is a Saturnarian? You know, so I mean, that's the big difference. You know, they still they're Lord Babaji is on the level of a Saturnarian, so and probably beyond, but he have known to have been here for 3,000 million years, and they say mostly he doesn't move that much. He's in one place, you know. So that's the difference, you know. So we have other questions.
Yeah. Okay, everyone, give me a minute. Let me catch up to where I think you may have answered most of these already. Hold on. Okay, a lot of these are comments, but let me start. In the Tirumantiram, it is said, I think he's talking about Shiva now, in Tirumantiram, it is said to be God and that he's unlimited faces because each one of his face actually is each and every living being, kind of like the Hindu deity having faces in every animal if you saw before. Mahadeva Mahadeva as an absolute. This is not the same as Sadashiva. That's a question.
No, the Mahadevata is a great cosmic being. It's like a Bodhisattva, like Vishnu, Krishna. Um, uh, so it's not the same. Vishnu was a solar lord, uh, which was actually higher than Krishna, although Krishna could operate as a solar lord too. So, but it's really complicated to explain. But in other words, Vishnu supposed to represent, but it's highly misrepresented in some of the commentaries of the Hindu writings, because Vishnu was a great solar lord, and but in some of the stories of Hinduism, they have Vishnu coming back. They even say that Sri Krishna was in the line of Vishnu, and it could be, could not be, because the great we're told that the great Saturnians, which Sri Krishna was, he came from the highly spiritualized etheric realms of Saturn. They sometime go to the sun for a galactic meditation and stay there for 100,000 years of Earth time that we're told. So at that point, they may operate on a small level of the solar the solar lords, but that's the difference. And like I said, these are godlike beings that their movement is very scarce because as they describe them, the closer you get to God or the Godhead, you are the creator and the destroyer. And just the same way they can heal 1 million people, they can destroy 1 million people too. So that's why their movement is very scarce, because they try to work. They not try. They do. They work strictly within the law of karma to balance karma on the scale of moving all life forward. I hope that answered his question or her question. What's the next question?
So through sexual stasis causes blockage in the energy.
Read all the questions, even though you think I may answer them. So
that's what I'm trying to do that. It's a lot. But
you're going down one by one?
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So through sexual stasis causes blockages in the energy or kundalini floors throughout the chakras, and those will create knots and cramps, or psychological knots and cramps.
What now? You say sexual? What'd you say?
Says, yeah, so through sexual stasis causes blockages in the energy or kundalini floors throughout the chakras, and those will create knots and cramps, psychological. The convulsions that you're feeling during meditation when the kundalini comes down to this asuna chakra all the way down to the core, it's relieving sexual stasis and chimas that were programmed in through following anxiety. I'm not sure if this is a question or.
No, well, a lot of people get this wrong. They don't understand that. When you raise Kundalini, the first rise of Kundalini is like a cleansing. Okay, so in other words, let's say your first rise of Kundalini is 40%. You rise 40%, and you able to gather 40% of the Kundalini, and you rise it, right? So what happens is at each chakra, you have what's called impurity traits. That for a better word, that's what the Hindus call it, and I think even the Buddhists. And I'm talking about the lower chakras, the chakras below the heart chakra, because these are the chakras that's holding us down. These are what they call the samsara chakras, the chakras that keep us within the wheel of rebirth. No, the ones below the heart. The chakras below the heart are the samsara chakras. They are the chakras that keep us on this wheel of rebirth over and over and over and over and over again. So in those chakras, you build up these impurity traits, which which aids to our character and stupid actions and stupid things that we do to put us to keep us going in the wrong direction or keep us going up and down, up and down. We gain so many steps and we come back down. So let's say when you have controlled mind and controlled imagination and you're able to control the flow of energy within you and you muscle enough mental concentration and contemplation to move the power of Kundalini. Uh, it, and let's say you move 40% of it. The first thing that Kundalini is going to do is going to burn up those impurities. That's the action of it. And what a lot of people report back, when they report back that they're sick, that's what they're sick from. If I fed you Twinkie bars for a year, when I take those Twinkie bars from you, what's going to happen?
You're gonna get sick. Withdrawal.
You're going to have withdrawal systems. Mm-hmm. You're going to get sick. So the thing that's weighing you down and making you and giving you long-term chronic sickness, it at one point it stabilizes you. You know, I knew a guy who used to work with us, and if he didn't wake up in the morning and tuck 2 ounces of beer, he was shaking like this. Once he tucked the 2 ounces of beer, 2 or 3 ounces of beer, he leveled off. So this is what's happening when you long term, because the life screen have been wrapped up in all this negative consciousness and negative traits of thought and actions for lifetimes. When they pull the Kundalini up, which is pure Shakti consciousness, which burns up these impurities to make room for what? For its travel, right? The body get wheezy because why? Because it has nothing to pull on when it comes back down. When the body comes back down to exist on this level of consciousness, it feels an emptiness because it has nothing to pull on for those crazy impurities. So that's what happens. So it burns up. It's a fire. That's why they named it a fire and all, because it burns up these negative things. And if you keep pulling the Kundalini up and bringing it back down, pulling it up and bringing it back down, it becomes harder and harder for you to live around normal people. You have to limit the number of people that can come around you for long periods of time. You can only be around somebody for short periods of time until you gain control over that. Until you gain control to balance your conscience, because a negative person coming around you immediately affects you. It really because when you become hypersensitive, especially somebody who's been in a battle in a war, immediately they come by you, you begin to have pictures of all the deaths that they cause, and or some sexual deviant person who just engage in all type of sex. It affects you. So because you become hypersensitive, because before you raise the Kundalini and before you burnt up all these negative samskaras that block you from being able to move to higher levels of consciousness, those negative things act as a blockage for the higher senses and allow you to communicate with the outside world. Normally like them, because why? Because essentially you had a body like them. So that's the difference.
So are you saying that just the way it's by design, the heart center really cannot store negative samskaras?
The what?
The heart center can't really store them, can it?
No, not really. Is all is according to the ancient diagrams and teachings, is very little negative. It is some, but it's very little in there, in the heart chakra, right? Because the heart chakra is, remember, the heart chakra is the level of consciousness that brings meaning and substance to all subtle matter. So I don't know if you can understand that. Uh, uh, what is the background for physical matter?
Unmanifested matter.
Subtle matter. It's subtle matter. Can't be unmanifested.
I say space.
Huh? No, but it's subtle matter. What's in space? Space is not empty.
No, space is not empty.
Yeah, space is what? Subtle matter.
Correct.
What do we know about subtle matter in space? It follows a what?
It follows a law.
It follows a law and a pattern. So we're told that when the Kundalini release the sound, you have a para sound, right? And then you have a what? It's called a Masayana sound, right? And then you have a Madhyama sound, right? That sound is the sound that gives meaning to all systems, to all subtle systems, to the tiniest atom, molecule, everything, and all the subtle bodies that's formed from that hides in the physical body in order to give physical expression. The next sound does what? It becomes gross audible sound inside a gross vocal box, inside a gross body to express consciousness. So the heart chakra produce meaning, which that's why you don't find the impurities in the heart chakra the way you find in the 21 known impurities in the solar system, sex center, and the base of the spine center. You know, so which those centers are more related to the human life than the centers inside the legs. You know, so that's why. So because it's an operating system, is almost the background operating system for the human makeup. And anytime you're doing a prayer, you're projecting energy. What do? You project it through what? The heart center. Because why? That's where the meaning will stay intact, and that's where the law of karma will protect it, moving out to go wherever. So so that's why. Now, another thing, the hands are connected to the heart chakra when it comes to that too. It's because the hands are connected to the heart and what? The throat chakra, right? Because it takes its command from the throat and it expresses itself from the heart. So you know, all of this is the upper chakras. So that's why you don't find the impurities there. You find people that's highly intelligent and void of emotion and bias. You know, part of their consciousness is operating from the heart chakra. You know, because they divorce all the negative stuff and they just have a mission, and their mission is to accomplish whatever, you know, whatever they want to accomplish. Let's try to get through these. What else we have?
Just read them out, or
Yeah, go ahead.
okay. Let's see.
Are we losing people? Cause
No, there's still more questions coming. Well, they're mostly comments. More stuff coming in. At this point, we must give up trying to completely understand an orgonia and the following anxiety and be content with understanding the connection between the block of orgon, otic pulsation, and the loss of orgon sensation and equilibrium. The relation of energy and an argonian to the force of gravity is clear, and the argonaut estate of the lambs are heavy, and movement can be accomplished with only great effort in the state of high. In this state, where the Kundalini flows down through the chakra sun, the other hand, one feels like floating. Let us take such figures of speech literally and seriously, and an Argonian less biological one. One other question. Please could you elaborate on Brahman and Atman and how Atman makes us divine or part of the divine?
Go ahead. Keep going.
So that it's two different people, so I'm separating their
Okay.
things. And then Argonian less biological energy is free and active. The inert mass of the organism becomes greater and less heavier in relation to the active energy that has to move the body in high energy out. And the energy through the chakras, the Kundalini, for small, more bioenergy is free and active in the mass of the organism. Active in the mass. The organism becomes lighter in relation to it. What we're dealing with is its genuine alterable relationship between mass and energy in the biosystem. It is not possible to go any further at the present time without invoking the metaphysical construct that's supposed to be thanks, feels, acts, and reacts in the background of living functions.
I don't agree with all this, but it sounds like they're saying almost the same thing I'm saying in a sense. I don't know, but is it is much. It can be much clearer than that. Is that's I don't know. They quoting some who.
He's quoting the poem of the Sitaram Tram.
Some commentary of the Vedas or something or what? What's the other?
Okay, so the other one. Okay, could you please elaborate on Brahman and Atman and how Atman makes us divine?
They have to get the real meaning behind these things. So, you know, and the good thing about mantra satra and tantra satra is it 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 gives you this. It gives you the scientific mechanism that was behind the philosophy, and a lot of the people, because of their lack of foundation, they in these teachings, which is energy, which is all based on energy. And when you go back and look at at the Hindu teaching or even the Buddhist teachers, it's all about energy. And so So, like people invoking like the statues, the art, and all that, and then trying to give a personal look to these things. Those things are only meant to, in my opinion, I look at them as orthodox instead of unorthodox.
Yes, because they're taking something that's impersonal and trying to personify it.
Yeah, yeah. So the difference is, in my opinion, you have different stages of God. If uh, if you have an animal, a dog or a cat, the dog and cat look at you as what?
As God.
As God. Because why? Because you make all things happen for that animal if they living with you. The animal can't go to the store and buy food. It can't take care of itself and live a long life. If it was out in the wilderness, it would surely probably die quicker, without the proper resources to feed itself, or some predator come and kill it, whether it's man or animal. So that's the difference. So if we look at ourselves and we compare ourselves to the earth, what do we see? We see that the earth is what? A godlike being, because we need the resources of the earth in order to make our life convenient and move on. When we look further from the earth and look at the moon, we still need the moon. The moon is like a god to us, because why? The moon help level off the resources and life force of the earth to make the perfect condition to allow this gross body to exist in this type of atmosphere. When we look further to the sun, the same thing. If the sun wasn't there, nothing would be able to live in the manner in which it's living. So all of these are different levels of God, uh, uh, and all of them are a divine spark of God in their own right. So looking at Brahma and Alta or Shiva or whatever, it is just different levels of evolution that those individuals are living at. So that's how you have to look at it. It's a life stream that's moving, and the more we advance, the more we realize that we have to give to the life streams below us. And we have to be of service to all life forms around us. So that's how you have to look at it. You can't look at it in such a linear way, uh, and you can't take a lot of the teachings literal. Go ahead. Is there any more?
Soul is the Devata because it's part of the Atman. Atman? That's the question. Or
The Atman is spirit, is divine spark of God, in some mystic teachings. So the soul is a product of the spirit. The spirit created the soul. The soul is not something that was always there. The spirit was always there. The soul created the spirit. The soul is the body of the spirit, and then the soul becomes the background for the life stream that's on a evolutionary journey.
okay. Is pushing Kundalini up the same as having developed the siddhis?
Yes. As you pull Kundalini up and open the chakras, activate the chakras and open those chakras, the cities, you are given the cities, you are given the powers. You for that conscious level. You can, whatever powers that operate at that level, you can do it. Whether it's X-ray vision, uh, uh, walking through a wall, elevating, level, elevating your body, uh, whatever, healing. The cities are large within the configuration of the chakras. When you open that chakra up, you release the energies and power of those chakras.
Okay. Jesus was said to be an avatar also. That is Brahman come in flesh. Is that correct?
Yeah, you could say that. Jesus was a great avatar. He was a great avatar to this earth. Yeah, that's yeah. Because all of us are Brahma in the flesh. We just at different levels. The creator and the creator and destroyer. So all of us are Brahma in the flesh. All of us have a divine spark of God within us.
I have a question about that diagram. Okay, so
Which diagram?
all right, so I have a question about what you have on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in your psychic development, a lot of it comes down to concentration, contemplation, mantra, and breathing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there can't be nothing else other than that, right?
And meditation, yeah.
Right. So obviously, the mantra that you're given and how you pronounce it, how many times you say it, makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
The breathing techniques that you use, the
Mm-hmm.
rhythm of each breathing technique makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So then, don't at one point that all of that becomes. There has to be a point in which all of that becomes a pure psychic process, where at some point you can you chant the mantra 50 million times, but at some point to really do that consciously requires, isn't it more you psychically reciting that mantra and going through that motion?
Well, the thing is that I don't want to give a number to it, but just hypothetically, let's say you chant the mantra 50,000 times. Okay, so now on the 51st time, on the 50,001 time, when you chant that mantra, let's say you can produce the power in that one chanting of the mantra that you produce in 10,000 times of chanting the mantra. That's what happens. Okay, so it's the power is rolled up in you, and you can invoke that power quicker. Uh, it's just like my prayer room. I chanted the mantra so many times in that prayer room that one day my wife went in there and she started chanting the mantra, and she was doing the whole marathon for the Theater Society 12 Blessings, where everybody say, I'm going to do it at this time. So it's done all over the world, 24 hours. So she went in there and she went chanting the mantra, and all of a sudden the walls start chanting the mantras back to her in my voice. So it scared her, you know. Yes. So so the whole thing about it is that's the mantra. It created an environment to what? That area created an environment to promote my development, or my or anybody who come in there who would train under me or follow me, it helped them too. Yeah. So that's that's the whole difference. So that's why they tell you to chant the mantra over and over and over and over. Let's say if you doing let's say if you doing deep breathing, pranayama. Oh, this not even work no more. Where's the one that works? Yep, red light. Let's say with mantra, right? So you'll understand. And this is just hypothetical. You do mantra, you just do it 50,000 times. Or you, what, well, let's say what Sivananda say, let's do it 5 million times. So, yeah. So when you do it 5 million, and this only happens because it's different for everyone, right? You do it 5 million and one, right? You have a greater power. So now you can invoke 25% of this with one chanting. And that's the difference. Because your body have calibrated itself to pull on the energy. And it's the same thing with pranayama. When you do pranayama over and over and over again, right? Let's say if you do pranayama 8 hours a day, right? Or let's say, because most people are not going to do it 8 hours a day. Let's say somebody do pranayama for 5 hours a day, right? That's realistic, right? You do pranayama 2.5 hours in the morning, 2.5 hours in the afternoon, right? Or you do it for a solid 5 hours in the morning. You can wake up 3 o'clock and do pranayama from 3 to 5,
To 8.
right? Or 8 o'clock in the morning, right? Which is good. Which is more realistic. If you go to work, you do it from 3 to 5, right? Or 3 to 5:30, right? So then what happens after you have did this for many, many years or many, many days and months or whatever, when you take a breath, right, that breath might equals 1 hour, right, of pranayama. See? You'll be able to harness enough energy. Because see, when you breathe in the first time, you probably take in less than 1% of the energy from that breath. But when you practice over and over and over and over and over and over again, you begin to take 20%, 30%, 40%. You understand? And as you get to a point, where, like Dr. King told us, when you take a breath, right, it equals what? You remember? 12 hours. Yeah. When you could take 12 hours of breath and put it into one single breath, you can raise Kundalini. You can move the power of Kundalini. So
you said something similar too. If you can put 10 hours of concentration into a single minute or an hour of concentration.
yeah, well, that's what it is. Because in order to take that breath, it takes, because pranayama, you cannot do pranayama without what?
Concentration.
Without concentration. So that's that's what it means.
Okay, so there's more questions on Atman and Brahma. What is Atman? What is Brahman? And how does Atman make all beings?
Ask them, did I answer their question on that? Because they get it into symbology and artwork and all this stuff. You know, and you have to go back to the original stuff.
Oh boy. Lyle, I think it would be best if you would email the poem to us so we can answer it that way, because posting it in the chat makes it very difficult for me to read and follow along.
And most of those are symbology. Is not and is up for interpretation unless you have the basic knowledge of Tantra, Satra, Mantra, or the Vedas, or the different yogas. You you know, you may think it means something else when it means something totally different. And like I said, Atma, to my understanding, is the spirit, which is the divine spark of God. Yeah, and the energies of Brahma is for us, for Earth, and a lot of people don't like to hear this, but it comes from the moon. The energies of Brahma, it comes from the moon, and it's it creates the mental worlds around the Earth, and and the souls of man live in the mental worlds. So the soul manipulate this Brahma energy, and so then the soul can be classified as Brahma because it manipulates the Brahma energies in order to move a part of itself through involution and evolution in order to gain experience.
Wait a minute. What
In the gross matter, in the gross worlds, and when I say the gross worlds, I mean the subtle, the etheric worlds, astral worlds, and physical worlds. They are too. Yeah, yeah. They fall below the waist too.
what books are you referring?
Mhm.
What?
That's a conscious part of ourselves too. Go ahead. What you said?
So, what books are you referring to about Venusians and Saturnians, etc., from planets? I'd like to study this also.
They can read they can go to the Etheric Society books, and they can read Madame Blavatsky's books, The Secret Doctrines and Isis Unveiled. They can read some of the ancient books of the Hindus, uh, the Vedas. In fact, some of the Hindus, they in some of their interpretations, they actually name the planets and the avatars and where they came from. So that's common knowledge. You just have to become a student of this. The Etheric Society, Cosmic Voice, and the Nine Freedoms make it very clear about this. So it is said that Sri Krishna came from Venus. I mean from Saturn. Jesus came from Venus. I think Sankachara came from Venus. Buddha came. The Lord Buddha came from Venus. It clearly tells us that Senat Kumara was a great master of masters, the keeper of the flame of Venus, came from Venus and took up residence here on Earth. And when he came, a slew of cosmic masters came along with the spiritual hierarchy of Earth and built the city of Shambhala for him. And he came in his full aspect. And then he built or created 6 different aspects of themselves in order to be located throughout the city of Shambhala and the world. So, I mean, all of this is ancient knowledge. There's nothing hidden. You can go back to the ancient teachings and look at it. Well, you needed someone of his caliber in order to hold up, uh, in order to help balance the negative karma of the world and usher man into the reincarnation cycle of this earth uh, uh, to help him because the earth went through a metamorphosis just to accommodate the Meldic man and created the lower realms, the realms below the chakra system. I mean the heart chakra.
It was Meldic man and Meldic environment animals as well.
Yeah, yeah. Which I was surprised to see that uh, Meldic was talked about in the Egyptian writings. I heard it then I looked it up on it was some Egyptian professor that was into metaphysics, the Egyptian metaphysics, and they talked about this planet being destroyed, and that it was located between Mars and Jupiter, and that and these residents were brought here, and so even in the Egyptian teachings, they talked about it. And he called it Meldic. I don't know if he adopted that from Dr. King or Dr. King adopted it from him. I don't know. But he called it Meldic as well. And he talked about a younger planet that came into the solar system that kind of took the place of Meldic. And he said that it was in the same orbit. No, it's not the same. They said we can't see it because it's in the same counterclock orbit with Earth, and as the sun moved, you know, it yeah, yeah. So he was saying that he was saying that scientists have located with some of the satellites. They just don't talk about it, or they don't include it as part of being part of our solar system orbit. That's the same thing Dr. George King said.
ISKCON says that Krishna is the supreme Godhead. Does that mean that Krishna is the same as Sabdashiva?
No, no. Who asking that? No. No. The problem with the interpretations that some people gave, they gave it on, and this is something that you learn in mysticism. Cosmic includes Earth and our solar system. And everything between there. It doesn't include the whole universe.
It does not.
It does not, unless you make reference that it does. So,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the cosmic consciousness that man go through here is different from the cosmic consciousness that a devata will go through uh, or Avatar will go through on their planet. It's two different things simply because why? Because they're connected more to the galaxy and the universe than what we are. Because we still have limitations, we're still going through rebirth. If the Devatar go through a rebirth, it's a conscious rebirth. But we are stuck in this wheel of rebirth in an unconscious conscious level. So that's the difference. So of course, Sri Krishna is like is living on a Shiva state of existence compared to us. But he is a god to us, but he's not the God of the universe. So yeah, he can't be, So I mean, you get these poems and these things, and and these aphorisms, and it's not. You can't take them literal. You have to look at this on a whole different level.
I've heard that that the devatas are from planets called lokas, but I thought it was not from the physical planets in our solar system, but from subtle realms.
No. No, devatas. No, locus means realm, translated into realm of existence. Okay, on the planets of this solar system, the same as this planet, they have multiple realms of existence. The realms of existence for them, the normal realms of existence for them, is an etheric realm, which is a highly energized realm without any type of obstruction of the energies. You look at Earth, and Earth reflects back what? How much energy? 50%, right? There's more.
Of the solar
From the
plasma?
sun, right?
Like 60, 70, a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, so most of the energy coming from the sun, the Earth doesn't even utilize. So because why? Because life is reserved on a gross physical plane. When you go to the other planets, those those planets absorb the sunlight much more than what this planet was. So they're, because why? They don't live on their gross physical planes of existence. They can, but they don't. They live on a higher plane of existence. So they live on what's called the etheric planes. So they are maybe someone was trying to, they didn't understand it well. I mean, but at the time they probably wrote that, they probably wrote it in conjunction with our Earth because we call our etheric realms realms of existence, locals, and each chakra represents a different realm, so they live on the higher realms. So that's why they call that.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So here on Earth, there are certain locations and times of the year where the realms come closer together,
Mm-hmm.
and it's easier to see or interact with those other realms. If we were to inhabit Mars, for example, and run into one of those locations where the realms are closer together, would we interact with the life forms on those higher realms?
Well, first of all, we don't even know if that happened on Mars.
Yeah.
Where it happened here, that might be happening here, and for some type of exchange of energy in order to allow this physical plane to exist more.
Mm-hmm.
It might not be necessary on Mars. So that's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things happen here is a calibration to
Mm-hmm.
to sustain this abnormal existence, you know, because it was not needed, you know, 18,600,000 years ago. You know, it wasn't needed. All of a sudden, they had to bring it about, and when you look at the scope of that time compared to 3,000 million years, it's just a little tiny time. So there's still a lot of adjustments going on. I mean, Operation Blue Water proved that. So you know, so so that's that's the difference.
Yeah, Lyle, for the questions in regarding to interpretations of poems and things like that, you can send that to our email address.
Give us a fuller description and cross-reference, and I'll answer it.
So I just put the email in the chat, our email address in the chat. You can go ahead and send us an email. We can better facilitate some of your questions. Let's see. The moon helps move the substances back and forth. The ocean and the moon helps to move. The moon helps to move the ocean back and forth, and the moon also moves the emotions back and forth in the mind. I think it's a.
Who is that?
Lyle.
This is real simple. I don't know why people can't get it. What keeps us conscious? What are the two main things to keep us conscious?
Breath and
Breath, right? Oh, this thing. Breath and water. And the third is food. What does the ocean control? I mean, what does the moon control?
Water.
Water, right? Okay. What is the breath or the atmosphere full of that the moon control?
Water.
Water. And we wouldn't be able to breathe without that, right? What does the food need that we eat need in order to be here, to be in existence and sustain itself?
Water.
Water, right? And who controls the water?
The moon.
The moon. We're moon creatures, and moon is Brahma. It's considered the Brahma energy. So it's just so simple. And if someone deny you water for 3 to 4 days, you don't get not one drop of water from anywhere, then you soon lose consciousness. You soon lose consciousness. Because why? Because your body becomes dehydrated. Your body is 70%, maybe 80% water. Your body becomes dehydrated, and you exit this realm of existence into another realm of existence. So that's why we talk about the moon. When we just talk about the moon's energy, we talk about Brahma. The air you breathe is full of water. The food you drink, I mean the food you eat is full of water, and you know you need water in order to sustain your consciousness. Because once you get dehydrated, you lose consciousness. And the moon controls the water level on this earth. So the moon controls the mental realms of this earth. And any other questions? Is that it? Is that it?
Yes, so far. Uh, what is your question on fasting? Well, someone just said fasting. I don't know if they're asking in general about it or if they have specific questions about it.
Well, we all know that fasting is connected to the moon. you know, so yeah, so that's you fast on the new moon and you feast on the full moon. And as the moon waxes, you reduce the amount of food that you eat.
If you're fasting for more than 3 or 4 days without, I guess, without food and water, do
You
you
have to drink water when fasting.
if you're sitting in full lotus during meditation, do you still lose consciousness?
What he said now?
If you are fasting for more than 3 or 4 days without, do you still lose consciousness if you're sitting in full lotus during meditation?
It depends on the level of meditation you can gain. That's if you gain a full true meditation where you raise the power of Kundalini fully and you dissolve your consciousness, then you put your body in a death-like state, and it doesn't need water, it doesn't need food, it doesn't even need to breathe. So that's a difference. But when you fast on a normally you drink water. You drink plenty of water during fasting.
Says, I broke my spine in a logging accident. and I was in a wheelchair for a while. I'm at my last semester in Mendocino College for a psychology degree. Now I practice a lot of Kriya Yoga and I do a lot of fasting. It says the Bhagavad Gita says you fast every 11 days after new or full moon.
That's right. That's correct.
Are there any final questions before we close out? Oh, he says he doesn't drink water when he does his fast.
They need to drink water. Yeah, just water. Yeah, that's real, very dangerous. That's it.
I think so. Do cats and dogs have souls and an afterlife?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and close out. At the end of each class, we recite a prayer. Lem, I didn't see any of your questions in the chat, so I'm not sure why they're not getting through. If you want, you can email it to us, or you can hold them till next week. We'll have one more class for the year. The New Lord's Prayer. O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power, allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up, and in doing so receive to their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength, so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. O great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing, granted energy to sing on forever and forever. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.